Masculine energy isn't lost, it's been stolen. Hi, this is Greg Swanson. Welcome back to the Warrior Mind podcast. We're doing a follow up on last week's podcast where we talked about the crisis in masculinity, and today we're going to be talking about masculine energy, the core framework. And in case you're watching this on video, the scar on my forehead was due to some skin surgery that I had done a couple of days ago. It wasn't some headbutting incident with a bighorn sheep here in Colorado. So you can put your worries aside. But let's talk about this, right? Because this is something that's come up in a lot of the interviews I've had on podcasts and just discussions with clients. Is this concept of masculine energy, and we went through it in last week's podcast. Is why is there's a crisis in it, and we've identified some of the indicators that this crisis exists. So now today in this podcast, we're going to go over basically the core framework of what is masculine energy and how is it missing. So the real problem men face today is modern men feel directionless, disconnected, and internally unstable. And a lot of my male clients come to me with something different, but as we coach and get deeper, it's one of those directionless, disconnected from something bigger, internal instability, whatever it might be, but it manifests in something that they feel they need to work on externally. So they want to take some action and create something externally, when in reality, it's all from the internal framework. Masculinity is suppressed by comfort, distraction, and cultural confusion, right? Comfort, we just get lazy. We go to work, we come home, we pop a beer, we sit on the couch, we go to sleep, we scroll through the phone, perhaps, we wake up and do the same thing over and over again. And there's no challenge to it. It's just basically comfort and complacency. Distractions, right? A lot of people just in general distracted by scrolling on their phones, whether it's Instagram, direct messages, WhatsApp, phone calls, whatever. We just get so distracted that men don't have a place to put their energy into. And cultural confusion, what does it mean to be a man? What is masculine energy? And so all these things have added to the repression of masculine energy in men. And the symptoms of this, right, are numbness, like, oh, just don't care. Procrastination, why bother? Low confidence, oh, I can't do this, why bother trying? And no mission. Well, I'm just born here to die, right? So these things show up when there's this lack of masculine energy within a man. And today's focus, though, is why masculine energy collapses and how to rebuild it from the ground up. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about here a little bit in this podcast. But this is such a complex subject. That's why a lot of my clients will coach with me for 3 months, 6 months, a year and more to grasp this energy concept so that they can really empower themselves to be, I hate to be cliche, but to be the best that they can be. So what masculine energy truly is, right? We have this misconception, getting back to the cultural interpretation. So it's a purpose-driven, forward-moving internal force, right? So you don't see, it's not an excuse machine. It's not a sit on the couch and do something. It's purposely driven. There is a reason behind it. There's intention. And it's moving forward, and it's an internal force that manifests externally. But if you don't have that moving forward, purpose driven internal force, you're going to sit on the couch or just stay where you are, right? So masculine energy creates direction, creates clarity, it creates structure, and it creates stability. And if you look at your life, do you have direction? I mean, you have direction, not somebody giving you direction like a boss. Okay, here's what you need to do today. You need to get these KPIs done, these MBOs, and do this and do that. That's not direction I'm talking about. It's internal direction. Do you know where you are going and why you are going there? Do you have clarity around that? Do you have a structure in place to help you get that? And do you have the stability internally to make sure that you manifest that grit and resilience when things get tough? This is not aggression or dominance. And that's one of the misconceptions, is that a lot of cultures and a lot of people think that masculine energy is aggression or dominance. But it's not. It's grounded in presence. It's being solid as a rock right here and right now, not having to be dominant over somebody else, not having to be aggressive to, manipulate somebody like a lot of individuals are these days. Masculine energy actually equals internal leadership. So why masculine energy collapses? So we understand a little bit about why society's going there, but then at some point it starts to percolate and then it collapses. So overemphasis on comfort over challenge. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know that challenge is one of the C's, the 4 C's in mental strength. And when we elect comfort over challenge, that masculine energy starts to drop. As we talked last week, the masculine energy needs a battle, needs a contest, needs something to push themselves to see what they're made of. It could be intellectually, it could be physically, it could be something, but there is a challenge involved. And this is why I encourage my clients to do something hard every day, if not at least just once a week. Do something that's going to challenge yourself. And so we sit down and make a list of challenges. And, if it's a daily one, we'll figure it out. If it's a weekly one, it's a little bit more intense, but we figure it out. But this overemphasis on comfort, like I'm just going to stay where I am in a lukewarm bathtub, doesn't encourage the masculine energy growth. So cultural narratives discourage masculine traits. We think of masculine, we think of a bully sometimes. We think of domineering. We think of all sorts of bad things with it, and that is not the case. So what I do with my clients is re-educate them on what masculine energy is, kind of like what I'm doing here, and so that we know that when a culture says, no, you don't be masculine because that's being a bully and that's being this and that's being that, it's like, no, 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 that's wrong. That's the dark side of masculine energy, right? It's that shadow side. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about something that's grounded in your values and your purpose and your virtues. And so the cultural narrative can squash that as well. And too much digital stimulation weakens drive, right? We have this drive, we have this energy, or hopefully we do, that to accomplish something. And then we take our phone and piss away all that energy scrolling through Instagram and other things that are going on there, Facebook, pornography, whatever it may be. And we take all that energy we have and now it's gone. And so that leads to comfort over challenge. Right? Loss of purpose leads to emotional instability. If men don't have a purpose, and I'm just speaking men, I know that a lot of this applies to women, but I'm a man, so I know where this is coming from. If you don't have that purpose, if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you can get frustrated, you can get irritable, you can get cranky over the smallest things because there's no direction in your life. Your purpose gives you that direction. And when you wake up every day with purpose, you know what you have to do that day. So there's no instability. You are there formed solid with the actions that you have to take. So we've gone through this last week. I'm going to go through it again. These 4 archetypes that are associated with masculine energy, and it's not one or the other. It's a blend of all of them, right? The king provides purpose, order, values, and direction in your life. The warrior is discipline, courage, and execution. The magician has this insight, clarity, and strategy, and the lover has this passion, vitality, and emotional connection. So you can see how you have all these together. You have your purpose from the king, the discipline of the warrior to put a plan together. The magician creates the strategy on how to do it, and then the emotional connection between yourself and your purpose, or yourself and others, puts all this together. And then the masculine energy really requires all four working together. They may not work together at the same time, but they trade off. So they go, the king will go, then hand it off to the magician, hand it off to the warrior, back to the king, back to the lover. So, but what we want to do is be able to access these at any specific point in time. So signs you're disconnected from your masculine energy, right? Chronic procrastination and lack of follow through. Basically, why bother? Emotional numbness, irritation, or collapse, meaning, your significant other can see that you just come home and sit and you could care less, you're giving up, you surrender, you just don't give a shit, basically. And no clear mission or long term vision. All you're doing is looking for Friday to have that happy hour time, go Friday, Saturday, and then start to get stressed and anxious on Sunday to go to work. That is a sign of no clear mission. And escaping into comfort, distraction, or stimulation. Going to Vegas a lot, gambling, right? Pornography, doing a lot of, scrolling on the phone, everything that distracts you from your purpose or your supposed purpose is keeping that masculine energy suppressed. And you feeling like you're not yourself, like, man, I just don't feel it. Well, first, if you feel like you're not yourself, at some point you knew what yourself felt like. And that is probably when those energies, those masculine energies, were more prevalent in your life. And now they're gone. And you go, man, when I was this age, I did this. And those are all exhibits of those energy archetypes. So masculine energy wound, right? Society discourages strength and grounded assertiveness. Says, don't do that. Men feel shame for wanting purpose and direction. Because a lot of times when men are on purpose, they're focused and a lot of their time is on that purpose. It's not that they're ignoring their family or their friends or their significant other. It's that purpose. They know they're here and they're not going to be here forever. So they're driven to do that. And then there's hyper stimulation drains the nervous system, right? Our CNS, our central nervous system, can be overstimulated with all of the things that we do, bombarded with text, phones, video, et cetera, et cetera. And we need to take that break, go for a walk in the woods. Men lose connection to identity and mission. And this is what really happens when a male individual loses this connection, things just start to fall apart. So we rebuild the inner structure first, and says masculine energy thrives on routine and order. So we want to have a morning and evening anchors to restore that internal stability. And this is what I work with clients, right? Creating AM, PM ritual, a work routine, and a sleep ritual. Structure creates confidence and psychological clarity. Without structure, discipline collapses. So that was step one, right? So then we want to have discipline through purpose. Purpose fuels long-term discipline. We have this purpose, and we know purpose is not an end result. It's a in the moment. It's a process. But in order to keep on that path, we need the discipline. So purpose will fuel that long-term discipline. And without meeting, motivation dies quickly, right? We're inspired. We're going to do this, and we do it for a few days, and then we don't know why we're doing it. We give up and try something else. Align goals with values to activate masculine drive. So we want to. This is where a coach can come in really handy. It's hard for us as an individual to know our values. We live them, and then when we don't live our values, we're out of alignment. That's when our world kind of falls apart. But it's hard to sit and say, here's my number one value, here's my number two. So this is where a coach like myself can help elicit those values, get clarity on them, and put them in an order, because values are orderly ranked unconsciously. Purpose turns effort into momentum, right? We take an effort and then we have this purpose on why we're doing it. So we do it again, do it again, do it again. The first time is harder. Then the second time is a little bit easier. Third time is easier because momentum keeps things going, right? And so we ride that wave of momentum. And then three, we want to integrate the four archetypes. You cannot live only as a warrior or a king. Balance creates power. So purpose and action and insight and passion, those are the four archetypes. Integration removes inner conflict. So when we look at before we integrate these energies, we're conflicted. What should I do? I don't know. Should I do this? Well, let me try this, right? We have all this internal dialogue that's going around and around and around. And actually, when we have this purpose and action and insight and passion, it creates power and balance. And this is what builds the complete masculine identity. So the activation process, right? We've gone through this step one, step two, step three, and now we want to go to activate this, right? Is awareness. See what's missing. See what's missing from a energetic perspective, from an archetype perspective. See what's missing. Do you have your mission? Do you know where your North Star is? Do you know your lighthouse? Do you know, okay, that's missing. Then you want to build the habits. So once you define what's missing, you obviously replace it with what you want. And then you rebuild the habits and structure to achieve that, or at least move towards that. And then the masculine energy becomes a natural state. You want to embody it. How would the warrior think now? How would the king think? And these are things that you can internally communicate with yourself. But when I work with clients, I say, okay, I'm talking to the king in you now. What do you think you should do? I'm talking to the warrior in you now. What you should do? I'm talking to the wizard in you. And my clients I will see this shift as they think about each of those archetypes. And it's fantastic, some of the solutions my clients come up with for themselves. And then the integration, right? Unified, grounded, masculine identity. So this is the activation process. So here's some final thoughts, right? Masculine energy is clarity, purpose, leadership, and grounded strength. Without it, men drift and lose their inner center. Rebuilding requires structure, purpose, and archetype integration, and with an asterisk there, with the help of a coach. And this is the foundation for the entire masculine archetype series. I'm going to go into the king in more detail in an upcoming podcast, and then I'll do the warrior and the magician and the lover, and then we'll revisit all this again. Your challenge, identify one area where your masculine energy is weak. Maybe structure, maybe discipline, perhaps purpose or emotional connection. And commit to improving it over the next 7 days. Take a note of it and notice what you do and give yourself accolades for that. To help with this, book your power strategy call with me to activate your masculine energy, build clarity, and establish the framework for the next phase of your evolution. And you can do that by visiting warriormindcoach.com. While you're over there, you can see the show notes for this podcast and other podcasts, read some important blog posts on this topic. And again, this is where you can book your power strategy call. And while you're going to be on the internet, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, all under Warrior Mind Coach.